Welcome back, socialites. In today's video, we're going to be talking about tips to elevate your makeup game. These are 7 tips that I've learned over the years to help take my makeup from okay to excellent, in my opinion. Now, these are tips that I wish I had known years ago. Some of these things I've learned 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and some of these tips I picked up over the last year or so. So that goes to show you, no matter how professional you think you are, no matter how much you practice, you can always learn something new. So if you're new here, I'm Ariell. I do mainly beauty videos, fragrance, a little bit of lifestyle, which usually consists of me going to eat somewhere in Houston. So let's jump right into it. Tip number 1 is lighting. Lighting. That's almost like opening up a business when they say location. Have you ever been to a hotel and you felt like, oh man, it's so hard for me to do my makeup because this lighting is so warm on the yellow spectrum or dim? So it's the same concept. Usually in homes or apartments, when you first move there, the lighting is really on the warm spectrum. So I'm able to see so much better my blending and the true colors when I switch out my lighting to daylight light bulbs. So when I say lighting, I don't mean buying fancy $100 box lights or even a $50, $60 ring light off of Amazon or Walmart.com. I mean simply switching out your light bulbs, $5, $10 light bulbs to daylight light bulbs. So as you can see on this pack of bulbs, it says daylight right here. And what's really important for you guys to know about lighting in your house is this little, I guess, graph right here at the bottom. And if you notice on that graph, the spectrum goes down to cool spectrum. That's what you want. You don't want it halfway. You don't want it on the warm side. You want it past the middle on the cool spectrum. Now this is just for like your standard lights that's usually in most places in your house, but daylight bulbs that's on the cool spectrum, they come in like the small little bulbs for like your chandeliers. They come in the big fat bulbs that you can use like above your mirror in your restroom. The long skinny like tube bulbs that you can put in, like sometimes they're in kitchens, sometimes they can be in closets. Any type of bulb that you need comes in daylight on the cool spectrum. Every time I move somewhere, I switch out all the lighting in the restrooms, living room, kitchen, everywhere in the house. I switch them out to daylight because I want to be able to see, well, it just helps me to see better in general, and especially when you're cleaning, you're able to see better, but especially for my makeup. That way, if I happen to go look in the mirror in the living room or maybe in the front hallway or any restroom in the house, I know that there's true lighting where I can really see if my makeup matches, if it's blended well, and how the colors truly look. Number 2 is no foundation or minimal foundation on the forehead and nose area. And I know this may sound weird to some people because you may think, well, you want your foundation to be even all over your face. You can do it that way. Tons of makeup artists and people in general do their makeup that way. But I found over the years, especially as I get older, your makeup can kind of date you sometimes or start to look a little bit more heavy, especially when you're a little bit more mature. Once my makeup is blended all over the rest of the face, I like to use the product that's left over on the brush without dipping it into more foundation and just use that to blend foundation on my forehead and the nose area, because once I do my contour and highlight with concealers and my other powders, it can tend to look kind of heavy on the forehead area or the nose, especially if you don't need the coverage there. Now, if you're needing to conceal hyperpigmentation or any type of coverage that you need on the forehead or nose, I would say apply foundation there if you need it. But if you have a pretty much clear forehead and nose area, I just use what's left over on the brush to go in those areas, and I find that my makeup looks a lot less heavy. Number 3 is incorporating a transition concealer shade. And this is something that I've only been doing probably over the last year, maybe year and a half. And I got this tip from a creator here on YouTube named Christina. And what I like to do is take 2 concealers now. When I'm doing my highlighting, I take one that's just a half a shade to 1 shade lighter than my skin tone, and then I take a brighter shade, which would be like my typical highlight shade. And I like to apply the deeper shade like in the outer area of wherever I'm highlighting. And then on the inner area where I want it the brightest, that's where I go ahead and place the brighter shade. And I get a much more seamless transition that way. Ever since I've been doing that technique, the socialites have been loving it. So try it out and come back and let me know what you think. Number 4 would be to warm up your contour or bronzer shade before you apply it to your face. And so if you're one that uses like a cream or a liquid type bronzer, this is the one that I'm going to use today that comes in like a wand type situation, but this can work for any type of contour product that you use, whether it's in a stick form, whether it's like a cream that's in a little jar. Find that you get a quicker and easier blend if you go ahead and apply the product like on a palette or the back of your hand, and then go right into the product with whatever brush you're going to use and go ahead and start applying it to your face that way. Oftentimes, and even I do this, I still to this day do this, draw a line, or if it's in a wand, you put the dots directly on your face and then blend it that way. It's so much easier, and you get a quicker blend if you apply it on a palette or warm it up on the back of your hand and then go in with the same brush and then apply it to your face that way. So much quicker. And especially if you're a beginner, you'll probably be a lot less frustrated with your blend game. Tip number 5 is to have a transition color for your blushes. Now, this is completely optional. You definitely don't need it, but this is something that I've been doing for a couple of years now, and I just love the way it looks, y'all. For instance, today I'm wearing Charlotte Tilbury's blush, the Chic to Chic blush, and I usually go in with the deepest color that's on the side there, which is like a true terracotta shade. I love a good terracotta shade of blush, you guys. So I apply that with a fluffy blush brush or a fluffy blending brush, and oftentimes you'll notice that you see your highlight and then bam, you'll see your blush. And you can keep going over that line or use a super light hand to make it a soft transition. Or the technique that I found is take a transition shade of blush. Now this is Fire Moon from Haus, and this is sort of a light, softer version of terracotta, and I find that this shade works with any terracotta shades, any brown shade of blushes, my deepest shade of blushes, no matter how deep. I go in with this and I use a softer brush, really fluffy, and I just go right over the top edge of whatever that blush is I'm using that day, and it just gives it a super soft transition there. It's not so heavy like whatever my main blush is, so it just gives it a softer, more polished look. I absolutely love it. I do want to show you guys one more option. So whenever I do like bold pink shades, so this one is Teased from Nars, which is kind of like, you know, like a bolder, deeper pink, or like my plums or anything like in the red family. When I use colors like that, I like to go in with Dior's Backstage Blush in the shade Pink. This is really, really light and it's soft. It's not heavily pigmented. So the same technique that I use with Fire Moon from Haus, and it just gives it a really soft transition, especially with those bold pinks, because sometimes those bold pinks just look like a splatter of color, you know what I mean? So this has been super helpful. Tip number 6 is utilizing a finishing powder. And if you don't know what a finishing powder is, it's a powder that you use pretty much after you're done with your makeup or after you're done with your main powders. I'll link a video right there for you to check out where I explain like the difference between powders, and I go over a lot of powders that I have in my collection, and that is a really fun video to watch. I'll also link it in the description box. But a finishing powder it's not as pigmented as like a foundation powder or like your typical setting powder, right? This is a powder that you're going to use to almost like a topper in a sense. So I like to use Charlotte Tilbury's Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder in the shade 2 Medium, and I only use this to finish under my eyes or to apply under my eyes. It gives me a more finished, polished look under the eye, which is actually what it's made for. You can use finishing powders all over the face too to give you a more polished look, but I would go for something more of your skin tone. I've been doing this for years, and this is a step that I will not go without. You know how you can skip some steps with your makeup? The finishing powder under eye is a step that I don't skip. Now, I've seen people, and I've done it before too, even on clients, use like foundation powders like Studio Fix powder from MAC as a finishing powder underneath to like brighten or give you a smoother look. I would just advise you to use a lighter hand with that because it can tend to look heavier, but it just sort of elevates the look, especially if you're gonna be on camera or taking pictures. Just really makes the look more polished. And the last step, also optional, is to blend that lip liner. One of my personal favorite lip liners is Limitless Brown from Makeup Forever. Now, I'm one that does like a crisp lip line, and I know some people like a more like softer, more like feathered out, subtle lip line, but I do like mine to be nice and defined. But I still do like to go in and blend the line that's on the inside of the lip, not on the outside. I found that the lip combo looks a lot more professional and just elevated if you soften the line on the inside of the lip before you apply your gloss or lipstick or whatever have you. Now, I do love a good bold lip liner moment. You know how they'll wear like the bold lip liners with like a clear lip gloss or like a sheared out lip color in the middle, but usually the younger socialites do that. So especially if you're a little bit more mature and you want a little bit more of like a professional polished look, I find that feathering in or blending in that lip liner on the inside just gives you just that more elevated look. So those are just 7 tips that I found to elevate my makeup game over the past like 10 years or so. So comment down below, let me know what are some of those tips you use to elevate your makeup game. Don't gatekeep, girl. So I do have a few more tips that I would love to share with you guys, but I didn't want this video to be too long. So comment down below if you would like to see a part 2. Everything I mentioned in today's video, I'll have linked down below in the description box for your convenience, or either right there on that YouTube shopping tab. So be sure to check that out. And if you're new here, welcome. I'd love for you to come join the family by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. 'Cause I've been where you are. You're too scared to show me love, 'cause too fresh with the scars.